The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal moon. Inside its cold halls, beings from across the galaxy gathered around a table made of black stone. Their faces showed anger and fear. At the head of the table sat High Arbiter Kyros, his ancient eyes glowing with rage. "Earth has gone too far," Kyros said. His voice was like ice breaking. "They refuse to pay what they owe us. They think they can fight the Dominion." Commander Nex stood up. His uniform was covered with medals from 1,000 conquered worlds. "The humans have destroyed 3 of our tax collection ships. They killed 200 of our soldiers. They must pay for this." Around the table, other council members nodded. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. No world had ever dared to fight them for so long. Earth was different. Earth was dangerous. "What do the reports say about their military strength?" Kyros asked. Nex pulled up a glowing screen. Images of Earth's weapons appeared in the air. "They have nuclear weapons. Their ships are fast but small. Their soldiers fight well, but they are just humans. Nothing special." "Then why are they still fighting us?" another council member asked. "Because they are stupid," Nex said. "They think they can win. They have formed alliances with other rebel worlds. They are spreading their ideas about freedom and independence." Kyros slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. "Freedom, independence, these are diseases that spread from world to world. If we do not stop Earth now, every planet in the galaxy will rebel against us." The council members looked worried. They had spent their whole lives enjoying the wealth that came from controlling other worlds. If the galaxy rebelled, they would lose everything. "What do you suggest, High Arbiter?" one of them asked. Kyros smiled, but his smile was cold and cruel. "We send the Vorthek." The room became silent. Even hardened warriors like Commander Nex felt fear when they heard that name. The Vorthek was not just a weapon. It was the end of hope itself. "Are you sure?" Nex asked quietly. "The Vorthek has never failed, but once we send it, there is no calling it back. Earth will be completely destroyed. Every human will die." "Good," Kyros said. "Let every world in the galaxy see what happens when they defy us. Let them know that rebellion leads only to death." Far across the galaxy, on a small blue planet, Dr. Kangwoo sat in his laboratory. He was tired. He had been watching the stars for 3 days without sleep. His job was to look for signs of danger coming from space. Lately, there had been many signs. Kangwoo was a quiet man who loved his work. He had studied alien life forms. His whole life. He knew more about creatures from other worlds than almost anyone on Earth. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, the instruments were showing readings he had never seen before. "The energy signature is enormous," he said. To himself, he checked his equipment again. The numbers did not change. Something huge was moving through space toward Earth. Something that gave off more energy than a small star. He picked up his phone and called Major Park Mina. She was in charge of Earth's defense against alien attacks. She answered on the first ring. "What is it, Doctor?" she asked. "We have a problem," Kangwoo said. "A big one. Something is coming toward Earth from deep space. The energy readings are off the charts." "How big?" Park Mina asked. "Bigger than anything we have ever seen, and it is moving fast. It will be here in 2 days." Park Mina was quiet for a moment. She was a soldier who had fought in many battles. She had seen humans fight bravely against impossible odds. But this felt different. "Can you tell what it is?" she asked. "No," Kangwoo said. "The readings do not match anything in our database. But whatever it is not natural. This is a weapon, Major. A very powerful weapon." Park Mina closed her eyes. Earth had been fighting the Galactic Dominion for 2 years. They had won some battles and lost others. But they had always been fighting ships and soldiers. Things they could understand. Things they could fight. "I will alert the President." She said, "Keep watching the sky, Doctor. Tell me the moment you learn anything new." "I will," Kang Wu said. "Major, I have studied alien weapons for 20 years. I have never seen anything like this." After the call ended, Park Mina sat in her office and looked at the maps on her walls. They showed Earth's defenses: missile bases, fighter squadrons, shield generators. All the weapons that humans had built to protect their world. She knew they would not be enough. The next morning, emergency meetings began in every major city on Earth. Presidents, generals, and scientists gathered to discuss what was coming. The news spread quickly. Soon, everyone on Earth knew that something terrible was heading their way. In Seoul, people looked up at the sky with worry. In New York, families hugged each other tighter. In London, old soldiers cleaned their weapons. In Tokyo, children asked their parents if they would be safe. Dr. Kang Wu did not sleep. He watched his instruments as the unknown object got closer. The energy readings kept growing stronger. Whatever was coming to Earth was more powerful than all of humanity's weapons combined. On the second day, he could finally see it through his telescopes. What he saw made his blood turn cold. It was not a ship. It was alive. The creature was enormous, the size of a small mountain. Its body was made of what looked like living shadow. Wings of dark energy stretched out behind it. Its eyes burned like red stars. Ancient writings from other worlds called it the end of hope. The Galactic Dominion had sent their ultimate weapon. Kang Wu called Park Mina immediately. "It is not a ship," he said. "It is a creature, a living weapon. And it will be here in 6 hours. Can we fight it?" Park Mina asked. Kang Wu looked at his readings one more time. The creature was giving off more energy than Earth's sun. Its body seemed to be made of the same material as black holes. Its very presence was warping space around it. "No," he said quietly. "I do not think we can." As the creature entered Earth's atmosphere, the sky began to change. Clouds turned dark. Lightning flashed without thunder. The ocean waves grew higher. Across the world, people stopped what they were doing and looked up. They knew their time had come. The Galactic Dominion had sent death itself to punish Earth for daring to be free. The creature chose to land in the mountains of Korea, far from the big cities. As it descended, trees bent away from it. Animals ran in terror. The ground shook with each beat of its massive wings. But in a small village in those mountains, an old man named Lee Day did not run. He had lived his whole life in these mountains. He had seen many storms and survived many hardships. He would not leave his home now. As the shadow of the creature fell across his village, Lee Day picked some flowers from his garden. He did not know why, but something told him that even monsters might need kindness. The fate of Earth was about to be decided not by weapons or armies, but by an old man with flowers and a heart that refused to hate. The Vorthok landed in the mountains with a sound like breaking thunder. The ground cracked beneath its massive feet. Trees that had grown for hundreds of years fell like grass. Dark energy poured from its body, making the air itself feel heavy and cold. Lee Day felt the earth shake under his small house. His teacup fell from the table and broke on the floor. Outside, he could hear his neighbors crying out in fear. Some were running down the mountain path toward the city. Others were hiding in their homes, but Lee Day did not run. He was 70 years old. He had lived through wars and famines. He had seen his wife die and his children move away to the big cities. He was not afraid of dying. He stepped outside his house and looked up at the creature. It was even bigger than he had imagined. Its shadow covered the entire village. Its red eyes burned like fires in the darkness. Its wings blocked out the sun. "Grandfather, come inside," a voice called. It was his granddaughter Kim Sora. She had come to visit him just yesterday. Now she was trapped here with him. "No," Lee Day said softly. "Running will not help us now." Kim Sora was 25 years old. She worked as a healer in the village, helping sick people and delivering babies. She had always been brave, but this was different. This was terror beyond anything humans were meant to face. "What are you doing?" she asked as Lide walked toward his garden. "Getting flowers," he said. "Flowers?" "Grandfather, that thing is going to kill us all." Lide picked white flowers and yellow ones. He chose the prettiest blooms from his garden. His hands were steady, even though the ground was still shaking. "Maybe," he said. "But maybe not. In all my years, I have learned that angry things sometimes just need kindness." The Vorthek moved slowly through the village. Its great head turned from side to side, looking at the small houses and gardens it had been created to destroy. Its purpose was to burn worlds and crush hope. But something was wrong. It should have started destroying immediately. That was its programming. That was what it had always done before. But here, in this small village, it felt something strange. Curiosity. The creature stopped in front of Lide's house. The old man stood in his garden, holding flowers. He was not running. He was not screaming. He was just standing there, looking up at the monster with calm eyes. "Hello," Lide said in a quiet voice. "You must be tired from your long journey." The Vorthek tilted its massive head. No one had ever spoken to it before. On other worlds, people only screamed and ran. This was new. Kim Sora watched from the doorway. She thought her grandfather had lost his mind. But something in the creature's posture changed. It leaned down, bringing its burning eyes closer to the old man. "I brought you flowers," Lide said. He held up the bouquet. "They are from my garden. I have been growing them for 40 years. The creature stared at the flowers. It had destroyed 1,000 worlds, but it had never really looked at anything before. The flowers were small and delicate. They had soft colors and a sweet smell. They were beautiful. Captain Yun Tae arrived with his soldiers just as Lide was offering the flowers to the monster. Yun Tae was in charge of defending this part of the mountains. He had 20 men with rifles and rocket launchers. He knew his weapons could not hurt the creature, but he had to try. "Get away from that thing," Yun Tae shouted at Lide. But Lide ignored him. He placed the flowers on the ground in front of the Vorthek. Then he stepped back and bowed, the way he had been taught to greet honored guests. The creature looked at the flowers for a long time. Something was happening inside its mind. For the first time in its existence, it was thinking about something other than destruction. Kim Sora stepped out of the house. She was scared, but she could not let her grandfather face this alone. She walked to his side and took his hand. "Those are beautiful flowers, grandfather," she said, loud enough for the creature to hear. "You grew them with such care." The Vorthek's eyes moved from the flowers to Kim Sora. She was young and kind. Her face showed no hatred, only concern for her grandfather. The creature had never seen anyone look at another person with such love. Days passed, and the Vorthek did not destroy the village. News reports from around the world showed confused military leaders and panicked politicians. The ultimate weapon of the Galactic Dominion was just sitting in a Korean mountain village, doing nothing. Dr. Kang Woo watched through his satellites. He could not understand what was happening. The creature was still giving off enormous amounts of energy, but it was not using that energy to destroy anything. "What is it doing?" Major Park Mina asked during their daily video call. "I think it is watching," Kang-woo said. "The energy pattern suggests it is observing and learning." "Learning what?" "How to be human, maybe." The Vorthek began to follow the villagers around. It watched Lide tend his garden. It saw Kim Sora help sick people. It observed families eating dinner together and children playing games. Everything it saw was new. On other worlds, it had only seen fear and death. Here, it saw cooperation and care. People helped each other. They shared their food. They took care of their elderly and their children. Li Day continued to bring flowers to the creature every morning. He would place them near its feet and say good morning, as if the monster was his neighbor. Kim Sora started bringing tea and rice cakes, leaving them where the creature could see them. "Why are we feeding it?" Captain Yuntae asked. He and his soldiers were still camped nearby, waiting for orders. "Because it looks hungry," Kim Sora said. "Not for food, but for something else. Understanding, maybe." On the 5th day, something amazing happened. The Vorthok tried to speak. Its voice was like distant thunder, deep and rumbling. At first, the sounds made no sense. But slowly, the creature began to form words it had heard from the villagers. "Flowers," it said, pointing at Li Day's garden. Li Day smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since the creature arrived. "Yes," he said. "Flowers, beautiful flowers." The Vorthok nodded its massive head. "Beautiful," it repeated. Professor Shen Ho arrived from Seoul University the next day. He was an expert in animal behavior, and the government had sent him to study the creature. He set up cameras and recording equipment around the village. "This is impossible," he told Kim Sora. "That thing was created to be a weapon. Weapons do not learn language or appreciate beauty." "Maybe it was never just a weapon," Kim Sora said. "Maybe it was always something more, but no one gave it a chance to be different." The creature was changing. Its body was still made of shadow and energy, but small changes were appearing. Tiny flowers began to grow from its crystalline hide. Its eyes, once burning red, now reflected the blue of the sky. High Arbiter Kiros received reports from his spies on Earth. He could not believe what he was reading. "The Vorthok has not destroyed anything," Commander Nex reported. "It is living peacefully with the humans. Some reports say it is learning their language." "Impossible," Kairos said. "Send a fleet to investigate. If the Vorthok has been corrupted, somehow we will complete the mission ourselves." But on Earth, in a small mountain village, the most powerful weapon in the galaxy was learning something new. It was learning what it meant to choose creation over destruction. And that choice would change everything. 2 weeks had passed since the Vorthok first spoke. The creature now spent its days moving carefully through the village, watching everything with growing wonder. Its massive form had learned to move gently, stepping around gardens and ducking under power lines. Kim Sora had become its main teacher. Every morning, she would sit with the creature and point to different things, telling it their names. The Vorthok learned quickly. Its voice grew clearer each day, though it still sounded like thunder rolling across mountains. "Tree," Kim Sora sighed, pointing to an old oak. "Tree," the Vorthok repeated. "Tree gives shade. Tree gives air to breathe." "That is right," Kim Sora smiled. "Trees help us live." The creature touched the oak tree gently with one massive finger. Immediately, the tree grew taller and its leaves became greener. The Vorthok could give life as easily as it had once taken it away. Li Day watched from his porch. His granddaughter was teaching a monster to be kind, and somehow it was working. The creature no longer looked like an instrument of death. Flowers grew all along its arms and back. Small birds had started building nests in the crystal formations on its head. Professor Shin Ho recorded everything. His cameras captured the Vorthok helping villagers with their daily work. The creature could lift heavy stones with ease, helping to repair roads damaged by winter storms. It learned to control its energy, using it to power the village when the electricity went out. "This changes everything we know about intelligence and consciousness," Professor Shin Ho told his research team over video call. "The creature is not just learning our language. It is developing empathy and moral reasoning." Ambassador Chen Wei arrived from the capital with a team of diplomats. The Earth government wanted to establish formal contact with the Vorthok. They hoped the creature might become an ally against the Galactic Dominion. "We greet you in peace, Ambassador Chen Wei said when she first met the creature. The Vorthok looked down at her with eyes that now sparkled like blue stars. Peace, it said slowly. Kim Sora taught me this word. Peace means no fighting. Peace means helping. Yes, exactly, the ambassador said. We would like to help each other. I understand, the Vorthok said. Before, I only knew destruction. Now I know creation. Creation is better. Dr. Kang Wu continued monitoring space for signs of more Dominion ships. His instruments showed increasing activity in the outer solar system. The enemy was planning something. How long do we have? Major Park Mina asked during their daily briefing. Maybe 2 weeks, Kang Wu said. They are sending a large fleet. Much larger than anything we have seen before. Meanwhile, the Vorthok was learning about human emotions. It watched families laugh together during meals. It saw children play games and adults work together to solve problems. Most importantly, it saw how humans cared for those who were weak or sick. Kim Sora took the creature to visit Mrs. Yang, an elderly woman who had been bedridden for months. The Vorthok looked at the sick woman with concern. She hurts, the creature said. Yes, Kim Sora replied. She is very old and her body is tired. The Vorthok gently placed one finger near Mrs. Yang's bed. Soft, warm light flowed from its crystalline skin. The old woman's pain disappeared. Color returned to her cheeks. She sat up for the first time in months. Thank you, Mrs. Yang whispered. The creature tilted its head. Thank you means gratitude. Gratitude means joy for kindness received. That is right, Kim Sora said, amazed at how quickly the Vorthok understood complex concepts. Word of the healing spread through the village and beyond. Soon, sick people from other towns were coming to see the creature. The Vorthok healed them. All, never asking for anything in return. Why do you help them? Li Day asked one evening as they sat in his garden. The Vorthok was quiet for a moment. Flowers bloomed along its arms as it thought. Before, I made things stop living. It felt empty. Now I help things live better. It feels full. Full of what? Li Day asked. Full of purpose. Full of joy. Full of connection. High Arbiter Kiros was furious when he received the latest reports. The Vorthok was not only refusing to destroy Earth, it was actively helping humans. Videos from the planet showed the creature healing sick people and helping with reconstruction work. This is corruption of the highest order, Kairos told his council. The humans have somehow poisoned our ultimate weapon. What are your orders? Commander Nex asked. Prepare the full fleet. We will destroy Earth ourselves. And we will recapture or destroy the Vorthok. Sir, destroying the Vorthok might not be possible. It is still extremely powerful. Then we will find a way, Kairos said coldly. I will not allow this weakness to spread through our empire. Back on Earth, the Vorthok was learning about art and music. The village children had taught its simple songs. Its deep voice could harmonize beautifully with their high, clear voices. They sang together in the evenings, their music echoing through the mountain valleys. The creature also learned to make things. It shaped stones into beautiful sculptures and grew flowers in patterns that spelled out words of peace in many languages. Everything it created was a gift for the villagers who had shown it kindness. I want to tell others, the Vorthok said to Kim Sora one day. Other worlds, other people. They should know about kindness. What do you mean? She asked the creatures. Eyes grew bright with excitement. The Dominion rules through fear. They make people afraid to be free. But fear is not strength. Kindness is strength. Love is strength. I want to show them. Professor Shinho overheard this conversation. He immediately contacted Earth's government. Leaders. If the Vorthok wanted to spread its message of peace to other worlds, it could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The creature has become something unprecedented, he reported to President Kim Jin. It is no longer just a reformed weapon. It is becoming a teacher and a healer. If it shares what it has learned here with other oppressed worlds, it could start a revolution. A revolution of peace instead of violence, President Kim Jin mused. That would be very different from what the galaxy has seen before. The Vorthik began practicing its message. It would stand on the mountain peak above the village and speak to the stars, as if addressing the entire galaxy. Peace is possible. It would say, kindness is powerful. Every being can choose creation over destruction. Its voice carried far across the mountains. People in distant cities reported hearing a deep, gentle voice speaking words of hope. The message was broadcast on radio and television around the world, but the creature's words were also picked up by Dominion listening posts throughout the galaxy. On worlds where people had lived under oppression for generations, they heard the voice of their former executioner speaking about freedom and peace. Rebellions began to stir. Not violent uprisings, but quiet acts of defiance. People refused to hand over their children as soldiers. Farmers kept their crops instead of giving them all to the Dominion. Artists created works of beauty instead of propaganda. The seeds of change were spreading, carried by the voice of a creature that had learned to choose love over fear. As the Dominion fleet approached Earth, the Vorthik prepared for its greatest test. It had learned to create and heal and teach. Now it would have to decide whether it could protect the people who had shown it a better way to exist. The final confrontation was coming, and it would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of the entire galaxy. The Dominion fleet arrived like a dark storm. Hundreds of warships filled the space around Earth, their weapons pointed at the small blue planet. High Arbiter Kiros commanded from his flagship, a massive vessel that could destroy entire continents. On Earth, people watched the sky with fear. The ships were so large they could be seen even in daylight. Dark spots against the blue sky, like gathering storm clouds. But the Vorthik was not afraid. It stood on the highest mountain peak, flowers blooming. Across its crystalline body, its eyes reflected the blue of Earth's oceans instead of the red fire of destruction. They have come, the creature said to Kim Sora, who stood beside it. My former masters want to reclaim me. What will you do? She asked. The Vorthik looked down at the village where it had learned to be more than a weapon. Children were playing. In the gardens, adults were working together to harvest crops. Families were sharing meals and caring for each other. I will show them what I have learned, the creature said. I will speak truth to power. President Kim Jin and his advisors gathered in the capital's command center. Major Park Mina stood ready with Earth's defense forces, but everyone knew their weapons were useless against such a massive fleet. Do we surrender? One advisor asked. No, President Kim Jin said firmly. If we are going to die, we die as free people. The Vorthik rose into the sky, its wings of energy carrying it toward the Dominion fleet. But it did not go to attack. Instead, it broadcast a message on all frequencies, speaking in the ancient language of the Galactic Dominion. Brothers and sisters of the Void, the Vorthik said, its voice carrying across space. I am the one you sent to destroy. I am the Vorthik, your instrument of fear. But I come to you now with a different message. On the flagship, High Arbiter Kairos watched his former weapon approach. Shoot it down, he ordered. Sir, our weapons cannot harm the Vorthik, Commander Nex replied. It is too powerful. Then we will listen to what it has to say, Kairos said coldly. Before we find another way to destroy it. The Vorthik stopped midway between Earth and the fleet. Flowers fell from its body like snow, drifting through space in perfect spirals of color. I was created to bring death, the creature continued. For thousands of years, I killed without thought. I burned worlds and crushed hope. I believe this was strength. Across the galaxy, on planets under Dominion control, people stopped their work to listen. The voice of their greatest fear was speaking words they had never expected to hear. But I was wrong, the Vorthik said. I learned something on this small planet. I learned that true strength does not come from the power to destroy. It comes from the choice to create. The creature's body began to glow with soft, warm light. These humans showed me kindness when I came to kill them. An old man brought me flowers. A young woman taught me to speak. Children sang songs with me. They did not fear me because they chose to see what I could become, not what I had been. On the flagship, some of the Dominion soldiers began to look uncomfortable. They had spent their lives conquering worlds, but they had never heard anyone speak about kindness and choice. The Dominion rules through fear, the Vorthik continued. Fear of punishment. Fear of death. Fear of being different. But fear is not strength. Fear is emptiness. Fear is the absence of connection. High Arbiter Kairos activated his own communication system. His voice boomed across the fleet and down to Earth. You have been corrupted, he told the Vorthik. You have forgotten your purpose. You are a weapon, nothing more. I was a weapon, the Vorthik replied. Now I am a gardener. I plant seeds of hope instead of harvesting lives. I heal instead of harm. I teach instead of terrorize. Impossible, Kairos said. Weapons cannot choose their purpose. But I am no longer just a weapon, the Vorthik said. I am a being with consciousness and choice. Just as every soldier in your fleet can choose. Just as you can choose. The creature's words reached every ship in the fleet. Soldiers who had spent their lives following orders began to think about their choices. Some had families unconquered worlds. Others remembered when their own planets had been invaded. Captain Reeves, a human-looking alien who commanded one of the smaller ships, spoke quietly to his crew. What if the creature is right? What if we could choose differently? Similar conversations began on other ships. The Vorthik's message was spreading like ripples in a pond. I have seen what life can be, the Vorthik continued. I have seen communities where people help each other instead of fighting. I have seen children play without fear. I have seen love triumph over hatred. Enough, Kairos roared. All ships, prepare to fire on Earth. We will complete our mission. But something unexpected happened. Many ships did not respond to the order. Their crews were still listening to the Vorthik's words. Commander, one ship captain said over the communication system. We request permission to stand down. What? Kairos demanded. Sir, we joined the Dominion to bring order to the galaxy. But what we have brought is fear and suffering. Maybe there is a better way. The Vorthik descended toward Earth, landing gently on the mountain where its transformation had begun. Lee Day was waiting with a new bouquet of flowers. Welcome home, the old man said simply. More ships in the fleet began to declare their intention to stand down. Crews that had spent years conquering worlds were laying down their weapons and asking for a chance to help rebuild instead. But High Arbiter Kairos was not finished. All loyal ships, target the Vorthik. If we cannot reclaim it, we will destroy it. About half the fleet remained loyal to Kairos, their weapons charged up, ready to fire on the creature that had once been their ultimate weapon. The Vorthik looked up at the ships preparing to attack. It felt sadness, not fear. Some beings were not ready to change, but that was okay. Change took time. I do not blame you, the creature said to Kairos. You are afraid. Fear makes us cling to old ways. But I will not fight you. I will show you a different path. The Vorthik began to sing. Its voice, deep and resonant, carried a melody that Kim Sora had taught it. The song was about hope and healing. About choosing love over fear. As the creature sang, something beautiful happened. The flowers on its body began to glow and multiply. Seeds of light drifted from its form, floating through space toward the Dominion ships. When the seeds touched the ships, they did not explode or cause damage. Instead, they began to grow, Flowers bloomed along the metal hulls. Gardens sprouted in the corridors. The warships began to transform into something beautiful and alive. Many of the soldiers stopped fighting and stared in wonder. They had spent their lives destroying, but now they were seeing creation happen before their eyes. "This is not possible," Kairos whispered. "Everything is possible," the Vorthik replied. "When we choose love over fear. When we choose creation over destruction. When we choose to see the good in others instead of their faults." The rebellion that had started with one creature learning kindness was spreading across the galaxy. And it was just the beginning. The transformation of the Dominion fleet was like watching a miracle unfold in space. Warships that had brought fear across the galaxy were becoming gardens. Their metal hulls bloomed with flowers of every color. Their weapon ports sprouted trees, whose roots grew along the corridors. High Arbiter Kairos watched from his flagship as half his fleet chose peace over war. Soldiers were leaving their battle stations to tend the gardens growing on their ships. Some were crying as they touched flowers that had grown from seeds of hope. "Sir," Commander Nex said quietly, "maybe we should listen to what the creature is offering." "Never," Kairos said. "I would rather die than surrender to this weakness." But even as he spoke, seeds of light were drifting toward his flagship. His own soldiers were watching them with wonder instead of fear. On Earth, the Vorthek stood in Lee Day's garden, surrounded by the people who had taught it to choose love over hatred. Kim Sora held her grandfather's hand as they watched the sky fill with impossible beauty. "You did it," she said to the creature. "You are changing the galaxy." "We did it," the Vorthik corrected her. "You showed me the way. Now others are learning the same lessons." President Kim Jin received reports from around the world. Earth's defense systems were detecting surrender signals from hundreds of Dominion ships. But this was not a military surrender. It was a spiritual awakening. "They are asking for permission to land," Major Park Mina reported. "The crews want to learn about peace. They want to help rebuild the worlds they damaged." Ambassador Chin Wei smiled. This was beyond anything Earth's diplomats had hoped for. They were witnessing the collapse of a galactic empire, not through violence, but through the simple power of choosing kindness. The Vorthik began broadcasting to the entire galaxy. Its voice reached every world under Dominion control, every planet that had suffered under oppression. "The age of fear is ending," the creature announced. "The age of gardens is beginning. Every being can choose to plant seeds of hope instead of harvesting despair." On distant worlds, people stepped out of their homes and looked up at the stars. For the first time in generations, they felt hope instead of fear. Elder Moon, the keeper of ancient galactic history on the planet Sanctuary, had tears in her eyes as she listened to the broadcast. She was over 800 years old and remembered the time before the Dominion's reign of terror. "It is as the old prophecies said," she whispered. "The destroyer would become the creator. Death would choose life. The galaxy would bloom again." But Arbiter Kairos was not ready to accept defeat. His flagship and the ships still loyal to him formed a battle group. If he could not rule through fear, he would make one final demonstration of power. "All remaining ships, target Earth," he ordered. "We will destroy the source of this corruption." The loyal ships charged their weapons. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. The Vorthik appeared between them and Earth, its arms spread wide like wings. "You cannot destroy love with hatred," the creature said. "You cannot kill hope with fear. You cannot stop growth with violence." "Watch me," Kairos replied. "Fire everything." The remaining Dominion ships unleashed their weapons. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Vorthik. The creature made no attempt to dodge or defend itself, but when the weapons struck, they did not cause destruction. Instead, they were transformed. The energy beams became streams of light that made flowers bloom across the Vorthik's body. The missiles became butterflies that danced around the creature's head. How? Kairos demanded. Because I choose creation over destruction, the Vorthik said. Your weapons can only destroy if I choose to let them. One choose differently. The creature began to grow larger, its form expanding until it was as big as a small moon. But it was not becoming more threatening. Instead, it was becoming more beautiful. Gardens bloomed across its surface. Waterfalls of pure light cascaded from its crystalline features. This is my gift to the galaxy, the Vorthik said. Not death, but life. Not fear, but hope. Not separation, but connection. Seeds of light poured from the creature's body in all directions, traveling faster than light itself. They reached every world in the galaxy within moments. Wherever they landed, gardens began to grow, deserts bloomed. Poisoned rivers ran clean. Dead worlds came back to life. On Kairos's flagship, his own crew began to lay down their weapons. Even the most hardened soldiers could not resist the beauty of what they were witnessing. Sir, Commander Nex said, the crew is asking permission to surrender. Kairos looked around his bridge. His officers, who had served him faithfully for decades, were looking at him with sadness instead of loyalty. You have the choice too, the Vorthik said, its voice reaching into the flagship. You can choose to help heal the damage you have caused. You can choose to plant gardens instead of graves. For a moment, Kairos hesitated. He was thousands of years old. He had built his empire on fear and violence. Could he really change now? He looked at a small screen showing images from across the galaxy. Worlds that had been barren wastelands were blooming with life. People who had lived in fear were laughing and singing. Children were playing in gardens that had grown overnight. Kairos began, then stopped. For the first time in centuries, he felt something other than anger. He felt wonder. It is never too late to choose differently, the Vorthik said gently. I was a destroyer for thousands of years. But one old man with flowers showed me another way. Kairos closed his eyes. When he opened them, they no longer burned with rage. Instead, they shimmered with tears. Stand down all weapons, he ordered his fleet. The war is over. The galaxy erupted in celebration. On world after world, people danced in the streets. Former slaves became free citizens. Former soldiers became gardeners and teachers. The Vorthik returned to Earth, to the small mountain village where its transformation had begun. Li Day was waiting with fresh tea, and Kim Sora had prepared a feast to celebrate. What happens now? Kim Sora asked. Now we build, the Vorthik said. We plant gardens on every world. We teach every child about kindness. We show the galaxy that peace is not just possible, but beautiful. The creature knelt down and gently touched Li Day's garden. Immediately, the most beautiful flowers anyone had ever seen began to bloom. Their fragrance carried on the wind, reaching every corner of the village. Thank you, the Vorthik said to the old man. You showed a monster how to become a gardener, Li Day smiled. You were never a monster. You were just waiting for someone to see your heart. Years passed. The galaxy transformed from a place of fear into a garden of cooperation. The former Dominion worlds formed the Garden Alliance, dedicated to healing and growth. The Vorthik traveled from world to world, teaching and healing, always returning to the small mountain village that had shown it the way. High Arbiter Kairos, now calling himself simply Kairos the Gardener, worked tirelessly to repair the damage his empire had caused. He established schools where former soldiers learned to grow food instead of weapons. Kim Sora became the first ambassador of gardens, traveling with the Vorthik to help establish peaceful communities throughout the galaxy. She never forgot the lessons learned in her grandfather's village, and Li Day, though he remained in his mountain home, became known across the galaxy as the man who saved the universe with flowers. Children from distant worlds would visit to learn about the power of simple kindness. The Vorthik kept its promise. It planted gardens on every world, taught every child about peace, and showed the galaxy that even the instruments of destruction could choose to create instead. In the end, the greatest weapon ever built became the greatest teacher the galaxy had ever known. And it all began with an old man who believed that even monsters could learn to love flowers. The age of fear was over. The age of gardens had begun. And the galaxy bloomed with hope for the first time in millennia.